Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crypto Hour. Today is Friday, the 28th of March. So we are now officially are we in spring? Yeah, I think we are. Are we? No. Yeah, we're in spring now. So we even had yesterday, we even saw the sunshine in the UK. It was like unbelievable. Unbelievable. It was almost 20 degrees, just believe it. For you guys that are in Australia, but that probably is your winter, you know. But for us is like something to celebrate. So
No, man.
today we have a treat. So first of all, I would like you, I mean, I know that you already know him, but I would like you to welcome warmly Jonathan Ajay here that has agreed to give us his time to talk about something that and is very close to to my heart. I also wanted to demonstrate what it's like to actually take part in the democratic process on a blockchain and what it means. Well, first, Jonathan, shall we just have a little chat first?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, obviously, we'll be talking about how to do certain things on Cardano. And I don't know how many of you have actually being on the blockchain, Cardano. I know that many of you may own ADA, but sometimes you own it on an exchange. There's one thing doing things, on just delegating away to an exchange the ownership of your tokens. Another thing is having them in your wallet and using them to participate in the blockchain's work. Now, uh, we all heard, Jonathan, that Cardano has become probably the most decentralized of all blockchains, and very recently, I've actually handed the keys to the coffers in a way. Have there been, of large coffers, because there's I think it's about 1.5 billion at the moment in the treasury, have
Yeah.
been then handed to the community. So then the responsibility now of making things happen will not be to the founder. And many people talk about, decentralization, but then in practice, you can see that they keep the reins, of how things are done in the very few hands.
Mhm.
So just can you just first of all, Jonathan, tell us a little bit of the recent events, just the outlines. Don't go too much into details. We please
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. Do stop me, if I interrupt. Yeah. Cardano is fascinating. And it's all been very busy lately. So there's lots going on left, right, and center, and keeping on top of it all this, it's hard work. So, uh, most recently this year, we've had the move from the founding entities controlling Cardano exclusively. There were three organizations that did that into that treasury, that 1.5 billion ADA being handed over to the keys to controlling that treasury, handed over to the community as a whole. So now, when decisions are made concerning that treasury or concerning the parameters on the blockchain itself, how it's going to operate, how it's going to reward people, then that's now in the hands of everybody who is an ADA holder. So if you currently hold ADA, if you own it either on a centralized exchange or on chain, then you actually have the capability of voting in the governance system of Cardano, and you can help make that decision as to what changes happen to the blockchain and yeah, whose voices are heard in it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's quite a big shift. There's no other chain that's quite done that yet. Like even Bitcoin is used, which I think of as the most decentralized blockchain. That's uh, that's really controlled in terms of changes and updates and revisions and stuff is all controlled by a very few entities, individuals, the powerful Bitcoin cabal who sit behind the scenes. But Cardano, now that cabal has been broken up. Cardano Foundation, Emergo, and IOG, they're now sitting on the benches like the rest of us, waiting to be able to apply their vote power when it comes to making decisions. So yeah,
On a practical level, okay, what are these decisions that we can all make? I know that we talked about before about funding, and to decide who gets, what projects get funded or not funded. But what else? What other decisions uh, are to be taken and ask for participation from us?
Yeah, well, it's obviously managing a blockchain is quite a complex thing. So there's sort of several areas of governance that are actually now in the hands of the community, and there are different portions of the community that have different abilities within that system. Even so, if you're an ADA holder, then you are the ultimate voting power. That's the most individualistic portion of it. You also have stake pool operators like me. So I run a blockchain node, uh, relays as well, and I then have the privilege of being able to mint blocks every now and then to actually add to the pool of liquid ADA. Um, and then you also have elected boards who help control, verify, check whether proposals made to the governance system are actually constitutional. So yeah, that's the other thing we've done is we've written a constitution. So now as a whole global community, we've got this constitution that we've ratified and agreed that this will be the document we'll always refer back to when it comes to making decisions. So it's had 63 nations contribute, have delegates go over to conventions to discuss. We've had 700 workshops or something around the world over the past year, helping refine this constitution so that the sort of the guidelines, the founding papers of the United States have been rewritten for Cardano. And now we've got this document to refer to. And so when it comes to making changes to the blockchain itself, so maybe it's at the moment, if you hold ADA in a self-sovereign wallet, then you're receiving an interest rate of about 2.5%. If you'd come and ask me that 3 years ago, then it would have been closer to 5%. So that inflation rate has been dropping. And so that's not attracting as many people into staking in Cardano as we'd maybe like. You can earn better returns by holding your ADA, possibly on a centralized exchange, than you can in a self-sovereign wallet. So we need to change that. As a community, we kind of all feel that we need to improve the incentives for coming and participating in Cardano. Um, and so that might be a change we want to make. Let's change that rate of inflation, the distribution of ADA between flowing out from the stake pools into the community. We want to increase that rate to reward people for holding ADA in their wallets. And so that's maybe switching it from 2.5% back up to nearer 5%. And that would be a parameter change that affects everybody in the ecosystem. Because obviously you've got stake pool operators like me who are like, brilliant, that makes my job easier. It's going to be easier to attract people to stake to my stake pool if I've got 5%, rate of return guaranteed annually, than it is if I've got 2.5%. So that's an easy sell to me. But then you've got people who are keeping their eye on the treasury on the long-term health of Cardano. Well, if we're inflating away, we're speeding up the rate of distribution of ADA, then that's going to give us a shorter runway, long term. Is that going to be best for the health of the ecosystem overall, or are we just rewarding the guys who are running the nuts and bolts of it at the moment too heavily? And so that's really,
Also to
contentious
remind,
conversation.
I don't know if everybody knows that Cardano is like Bitcoin in the sense it's got a fixed supply of tokens.
Yeah.
It's not like Ethereum that keeps minting new tokens. So once the 45 billion Cardano, that's the maximum that will be in circulation. So there won't be any more than that. So similar to Bitcoin, then over time, if the demand grows, then the value of the tokens will grow too. Now, the other question I have for you before we go into like a practical demonstration and showing people how you do things on chain. So, especially for those that haven't participated before, where are the places where the discussions are taking place? Where do you participate if you want to, start taking part in Cardano, and where are the places where we can, people chat about different things?
Well, I can probably put that on a scale of most exciting, most dramatic, most most brutal. We should
And
be on
at the end of watching paint dry.
On the other end, you've got the dry technical discussions of the ins and outs of blockchain governance, and and that would be within some of the committee rooms intersect meetings that happen. So we've got, I mentioned about the organizations and the committees that are elected to help run, vet proposals and run things. And that organization, the primary one at the moment is called Intersect, and that is a members-based organization. So you may have heard of foundation like the Linux Foundation, which manage how decide what goes into the kernel of the Linux operating system. Maybe you don't know what Linux is. Again, stop me. Or the Ethereum Foundation, probably more likely, you might have heard of that. Well, this is an organization a bit like that, where they have some responsibility to do the right thing when it comes to growing the ecosystem. Intersect has elected bodies within that. So there's like the civics committee where you can, and at the moment elections are opening up, so you can actually apply, put yourself forward as a potential candidate to be elected onto that board. And then you'd be committing to effectively 20 hours of currently unpaid work in the governance halls of Cardano. So you'd be then responsible for reviewing proposals as they came in, the ones that were sort of allocated to that civics, that community health portion of the ecosystem, and comparing it against the constitution, what we've got written in there. So say someone put in a proposal, we actually want to change that 45 billion hard fixed rate of distribution of Cardano. We actually want, I think we'd prefer to have 60 billion by the end of it because we need a bit of a longer runway. That actually would be thrown out as a proposal by all the committees probably, because it would be unconstitutional, because we've written our constitution. In that constitution, we've written down again, hard cap on 45 billion ADA ever being produced. And so now nothing will get through as a proposal if it's unconstitutional, and that would fail at that hurdle. So yeah, they've got that dry, sensible portion of it in the Intersect and in those civics committees and parameter committees and all the rest of them. And then you've got the Wild West where you can come and have fun just shouting about things on Twitter and or X, I should call it now. And that's where all the hardcore Cardano fans go and spend their time in Twitter Spaces and writing posts about the evil that is within the heart of every aspect of blockchain, and Cardano included, and yeah, so it's good fun.
What's happened to Catalyst?
Catalyst is well, again, it's been our biggest flagship of success throughout Cardano's short history. Catalyst is a innovation fund. So anybody that has a bright idea, you can put in a proposal to apply for funds to get paid for building things on Cardano that will benefit the ecosystem. And so Catalyst has been distributing about $60 million worth of ADA every quarter for the past 4 years now. And when the keys for the treasury and so on and so forth were handed from the founding entities over to the community, then everything is now back to the drawing board. We need to decide what happens with Catalyst. Are we actually going to keep distributing $16 million of funds each quarter through Catalyst or not? And so Catalyst, the team there, who are all employed people in a private sort of organization, they've had to apply for funding to the treasury, and now we decide whether we want to keep that going or not. I wholeheartedly want it to continue as is, with decent level of funding. Obviously, they've got some runway. They've got proposals ongoing. Like 700-800 proposals have been actually delivered on by the community. So real things being built. And in fact, most of the tools that I'll show you today have had some kind of Catalyst funding to seed their growth and their development.
Cool.
Yeah, at the moment, Catalyst is kind of on a hiatus. There's no town halls to go and hang out in. But you can obviously, there's this Discord servers you can go and talk about things on there, and there are occasional community meetings that you can go and get involved in. Yeah.
Fantastic. Can you also, as part of the thing, can you just then give us a few links, to go and investigate? So you're thinking about now if you could possibly go into like the voting and thinking, okay, where do people find out, for example, where are the voting proposals, to investigate and also there's a new innovation. The reason why also I wanted to do this today is because things have slightly changed. For those of you that have Cardano in a self-custody wallet, now there is an extra step to staking to receive staking rewards, which is like delegating to a DREP. And can you just explain roughly what DREPs are and why do you need this extra step?
Yeah, sure. So to receive that reward, that rate of 2.5% at the moment, if you hold your Cardano in a self-sovereign wallet, which means it's not on a centralized exchange, it's in your own wallet, you have the keys to it, then you get this 2.5% reward every annually. And to pick that up now as an incentive to try and encourage people to participate in governance, to start thinking about the ADA that they hold as a valuable asset in more terms than just monetary ones. The committee have decided, or the committees have decided that we will only let people collect their rewards if they're delegated to a representative in the ecosystem who is thinking about these governance decisions and participating in governance, talking about it, expressing their opinions, and so anybody in the community again can pick up that chalice and say, yeah, I'm going to be a delegated representative. And you can think of them kind of like politicians, but without any of the gloss or any of the pay. So they are enthusiasts in the ecosystem who are really interested in the long-term health of Cardano and are looking. They've got strong opinions typically, and they want people to come and delegate the ADA in their wallet, the voting power of that, instead of that individual wallet having to be used in voting. They can actually just delegate the weight of that vote power in that wallet into a delegated representative. And then whenever he makes a decision, that's where the weight of that vote will come from. So a delegated representative is a bit like how a stake pool is to the infrastructure on Cardano, a delegated representatives to the governance in Cardano. And so anybody can put their hand up and say there'll be a DREP. Yeah, I have done that as well. So if you trusted me as an individual in having the right attitude towards governance, towards Cardano as a whole, you thought I'd be making good decisions. You didn't want to sit and think about all the little details, but you agreed with most of the things that I talk about in the direction I would put my votes. Then you could say, okay, I will by default just have my vote power sitting with me, and when a vote comes up, he'll make a decision. We can talk about it in my Discord server and things like that, but that'll get done. And so that's a way of grouping expertise around individuals to try and engage as many people as possible, as much ADA as possible into this voting procedure. Because obviously the more or the less people are involved, and the less people expressing some kind of opinion, the less people not voting, the ADA sitting idle in their wallets, then the weaker decisions we're making as a whole, because you can only really make decisions, make choices en masse. There's nobody that knows the right answer as an individual. Everybody has to be participating in, well, this affects me this way, this affects me this way. You don't know how the outcomes of any government decision are going to weigh on, a rural African versus a Wall Street banker. There's very different opinions on how, and so as a society, as a global organization, we need to have those voices heard from all angles, and that's the way to do it, is by getting every bit of ADA out there voting where possible, and we'll truly sort of spread out the power to everyone rather than just letting it pool up in a few wealthy heads. So yeah, that's the idea. And so there are tools now being developed for DREPs to go and they put up their flags and say, yeah, I'm here. If you want to move your vote power to me, you can do that. And of course, you're in control of the ADA still. You can move that vote power as soon as you hear something you don't like. So if I said something that I'm not going to vote for him, I disagree with him fundamentally on some issue, then you can move your vote power away. And so I have no control over that, over where your vote power goes, which is, an ideal system for keeping vote power fluid, keeping the voices really being heard. And with an incentive now, of course, you can only pick up your awards if you've actually delegated to a representative or are participating in votes yourself. So yeah, that's a change.
And Jonathan, if we go now into the demonstration, but before we go there, I just wanted to focus the attention. Kind of, this is because in recent years, this is the first time that something like this has been attempted. Because we can all, we're all, every week we see the images about, Elon Musk sending another rocket up and saying, "Oh, we'll be colonizing Mars, or we're going here, we're going there." Just think about it, when that happens, because it's going to be when, probably not if. How do we then establish a constitution, a governing structure? I don't think we're going to have like the House of Lords on Mars, probably. So the idea is a practical problem. And you're thinking, okay, what do we do? How do we organize society? This is kind of been a really important, very what we're going to say, a really big project. Obviously, it's not perfect, and things is being worked on all the time, but it can be a template for how things are done in the future when we go to a different planet, or when we create something completely new that hasn't been done before, and how we go about it in a way that there's not one entity in charge, the entity that historically was like the king or the prime minister or something, but where we all take responsibility for something. So we're going to pay attention, because this is like a first of a kind, but it could be like what paves the way for for things to come, in the near future. So,
Yeah.
and if you want to go and share your screen then and show us how things are done, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's exactly right. We're moving from nations into being a true global community. So how do we make decisions as a whole when it's not just local contentious issues on hand? So drag this out of the way. This is sort of the primary place you probably come to look at governance within Cardano. This is the gov.tools website, so anybody can visit this, and you'll see first away, it's a decentralized application, or it's a tool that interacts with the blockchain, because it'll have this connect wallet button, and that means that you can connect your wallet, your self-sovereign wallet. So once you've moved your ADA from an exchange into your own wallet, then you can use that wallet to participate in applications in websites like this. So you can connect your wallet and then actually start interacting with the blockchain through this interface. So this is a portal into governance on Cardano. The area where you can find individuals who are actually putting themselves forward as people with a voice or an opinion. Some are experts, many are not. You can come and find these in the DREP directory. So this directory here lets you search through. I don't know how many people have we got now participating, putting themselves forward. It doesn't actually tell us the totals, which is a shame. But there are hundreds of people, thousands of people, likely now from all around the world, who've said, "Yeah, I'm registering as a representative that you can actually stake your vote power to." And so in here, if you're interested, you can come and search for me. Quickest way is probably through my surname, and there you'll find my details page. And so within it, we're encouraged as DREPs to actually put down a little bit about ourselves, what we've contributed to the ecosystem so far, and any links off to activities, projects we're involved in. And then most importantly, at the top of this page, you'll find the DREP ID. So this is a location on the blockchain that contains the the identity for me as a delegate representative. So effectively, when you're voting and moving your power, your vote power to a representative, this is the ID that you need. So let's just copy that there.
Jonathan, could you please, so to make life easier, if somebody on the call that wants to delegate to you, can you just copy and paste that in the chat box?
Sure. Can find the chat box. One sec. So that's my DREP ID. Many others are out there. And if you're curious as to what sort of proposals are going on, you can see this proposals list that has got the current ones happening. And so this is a good place to come and gauge whether you've actually got an opinion that you can, put enough knowledge behind to make a vote yourself, or whether you want to engage in working with a DREP to try and come up with a decision.
What do you want?
So, for example, we've got this series of net change limits, and this is all to do with the treasury within Cardano. So we've got that 1.5 billion. We want to spend some of that over the next 10 years in growing the ecosystem. How much can we spend? How much is too much? How fast, what rate of spend is too high? And so we're making a decision initially about what is that rate of change to the budget, to the treasury we can make. And so this is the net change limit discussion. Do we want that to be 5% a year we can change it by, or do we want it to be 30%? And these are the proposals that people have put forward as to what they think the net change limit should be, so on and so forth. We've also got some other proposals on here, like community-based ones. This NFT trading card game, they've just put in a treasury request for some money to build out their game. And so you can then come in, read the details about this game, evaluate whether you think it's a good idea or not. How much are they asking? How much money are they looking for? Do we want to give this to them or not? And so far, 70% of the 10 votes have said, yeah, give them the money. 30% have said no. And so you can see a poll of what people's opinions are on it. You can engage in actually live comments on this page as well. And all this will grow over time. At the moment, you have to put in for these info actions, which are sort of discussions around points, parameter changes, and so on and so forth. You can participate in that quite cheaply. If you actually want to put in a treasury request, you have to put up 100,000 ADA as a deposit, which you'll get back if your proposal gets voted or not. But you actually initially have to have shown as much commitment to the ecosystem as having got hold of 100,000 ADA to actually put in a proposal, because we want to try and keep the number of these proposals down so they're actually manageable. We can actually get through them and make some decisions.
Jonathan, about when you're looking at the voting, like the poll in each proposal, is that kind of a number of votes, or is it kind of the voting power? Do you know?
I think these polls are just sort of temperature sensing. So they're not actually, I've lost it now. Where did I see it? Yeah, here.
Yeah.
They're not actually on-chain decisions or anything yet. It's not represented by vote power.
Yeah.
This is just, okay, I've come to the website. I've said, I want to give this guy some money. I'll place my vote. And so you're seeing one person, one vote, one poll entry, one person, I believe. And when it actually comes to voting, if one of those guys has got 10 million ADA and one of them's got 5 ADA, then that's obviously a very different vote power. So when it actually comes to decision making, the amount of ADA you hold is the crux at the moment. And again, that's one of the proposals I want to see happen quite soon, is how do we improve our voting system so it's not purely the amount of ADA you vote determines how much vote power you have. Because if we do stick to that, then we have organizations in the ecosystem like IOG, like Cardano Foundation, like Emergo, who hold, 1 million ADA, up to 600 million, I think Cardano Foundation holds, and they can use that to really sway the votes, because that's a lot of ADA. It's hard to compete with any single entity that has got that much ADA, and so we need other mechanisms of voting that were more towards one person, one vote, or conviction voting, where you can only apply so much of your vote power to top proposals as they come up within a time period. And there's all sorts of other vote mechanisms that clever people around the world have come up with over time to try and improve things. Um, and there's lots of technicalities involved in trying to get to one person, one vote, but it's doable. It just means that we have to have identity systems that are really robust, and we have to have KYC processes and things like that, which we want to try and avoid wherever possible. So yeah, that's a directory where you can find individuals. So for example, this guy, Pi Lanningham, he's an OG in the space. I rate his development powers really highly. I met him in Toulouse last year, and he runs the first automated market making decentralized exchange on Cardano. That was SundaeSwap. There was an order book DEX that started first, MusiSwap, but Pi got in there with the AMM DEX. Really clever guy, and really works hard for the ecosystem as well. So I'd rate him highly if you were looking to evaluate a DREP to see whether you think they're going to have your type of decisions when they're voting. Then you could come and evaluate Pi and see what he's done for the ecosystem. He's building his business on Cardano, and that's a good sign that someone's going to have the best interest of the ecosystem at heart. And then read through proposals, and then you can decide whether you want to vote or whether you want to get someone like Pi to help you vote. Then it comes to actually voting on proposals as they're up for with actual deadlines for their vote. So here we have an info action. So it's more of a discussion point than a direct parameter change. By the 30th of March, so end of this month, we want to have decided whether this info action is worthwhile or not. So you can see how many people have actually voted on this live proposal so far. So we've got 3 tranches of people who vote in the ecosystem. Like I was saying earlier, you've got your DREPs, you've got your individuals, you've got your committees, and you've got your stake pool operators. And so here we have the DREPs, that's you and me voting, and we've had 2.34 billion ADA voting yes on this proposal, 5 against, and we've had 200 million abstain. So when if you don't want to participate in governance, you do want to collect your rewards, you can just say, I'm going to be a conscientious abstainer, and just set your vote power. I don't want to pick a DREP. I'm just going to apply my vote power to a smart contract that's always going to abstain from every vote. And so that's what that abstain represents, is that people who want to hold ADA but don't want to participate in governance, and they do want to collect their rewards. So they're just going to abstain all the time until a vote comes up that they really want to get involved in. Then you've got your SPOs, stake pool operators. So these are the guys who are actually minting ADA, adding ADA into the world. They're running computers around the world 24/7 to make sure that the blockchain stays up and functional and performant. And they've applied 205 million of their vote power. Yes, 1.3 against. Stake pool operators very rarely abstain. They're always opinionated. So, and then we have here the constitutional committee. So these are the guys that have been elected into positions to actually voice their opinions and help us make constitutional discussions, decisions that comply with the Constitution. And so there are very few members in these constitutional committees, but they could hold a lot of vote power. So 2 constitutional votes have said yes to this roadmap proposal, and 1's abstained, 4 have voted against. And so you'll see for the constitutional committees that whether they deem that proposal constitutional or not. So if something is said, okay, we want 46 billion ADA produced by the end of it, that's not constitutional. So that will then get a no vote from hopefully all the constitutional committees, because they'll have read it, interpreted it the same way, and come back to the decision that, yeah, it doesn't comply with the Constitution. But there's the Constitution is young. There's a whole load of fuzziness to it that you only get by working these things out in with lawyers and courts and so on and so forth. So, hopefully that we don't get to that and we can all, take it at fairly face value to make decisions. But yeah, that will be needed. So let's get on and actually look at how we would cast a vote. So if you see the proposals, you're enjoying the idea of it, you want to start playing with the Ada in your wallet, you can do it safely in a non-committed way by playing with a alternative voting website. So just a quick aside, Sancho Net is the sort of development area of that website we were looking at previously, gov.tools. And so in here, there's a whole load of documentation and discussion on what's in the Constitution, what parameters might be discussed and voted on, and they also have an actual replica of the Gov tool as well, which you can participate in. Where is it? It's not here. This looks like it's updated, and I can't find the actual link to the Gov tool. There we go, Sancho Gov.tools. Oh, and that looks like it's down as well. Okay, so the dev site's not up and running. So I'll just show you on the real tool. So there are a couple of ways to interact with the governance part of the blockchain. You can do it through this website by using your dApp connector in your wallet. So if you've got your ADA in any of these decentralized wallets like Lace or Eternal or Yoroi or Nami or Begin or Tokyo, there's lots of them out there now. Eternal is one that I use. Then you can interact directly with this website. So here I am being prompted to confirm whether I want to allow my wallet to talk to this website. So I'm going to grant access for my wallet to talk to gov.tools. And this is mainnet. So this is real vote power being used here. So if I jump quickly over to my wallet, this is the Eternal wallet that's currently the live version. They've got a beta that's looking a lot slicker, looking very nice. But in here, if you're participating with this wallet to make your voting, then you would have your green plug button up here, which is your dApp connector button. And that means that this wallet is the one that will be talking to GovTools. So when you go back to GovTools and apply a vote here, it'll be with the weight of the vote power in this wallet. So here I've got 259 ADA that I'll be using to vote in this government. If you've got multiple wallets, you can vote with those wallets in different ways, different directions. So each wallet has its own directions to vote. You can put some wallets, delegate them to a representative, or you can participate with them directly. So say we wanted to take this wallet and delegate it to me. Looks like actually I've already delegated this wallet to the DREP here. So we can see that because it's pulled up my ID, my name, and that will link through to my directory listing. So that means that this wallet is already participating in delegated representation. If we wanted to delegate, I've changed my mind. I don't like Jonathan anymore. I'm going to vote for Pi. I'm going to let Pi vote for my I'm going to change my delegation to Pi. And so it's as simple as that. You can come in, find the person you want to give your vote power to, and click the delegate button, and it will pop up a signing window for your wallet. I say it's as simple as that, but it seems to be stalling at the moment.
Easy, but not simple.
Yeah. Let me just try a refresh. Okay, it's pulled up more vote power this time. And let's find pi again. Delegate to pi. There we go, it's worked this time. I think it was because I switched wallets mid-flow. And so here you're being asked for the spending passphrase for your wallet. And I'm actually going to do this for you. So I'll just grab my spending passphrase. And in this sort of signing window, and this is the crux of interacting with the blockchain, and it will get slicker over time. But what you're doing now is using your wallet, which has your ADA in it, to sign a transaction, meaning that anything on the blockchain will understand that the only person who could possibly have signed in this way is this wallet. And so you're accruing transactions and verification that this wallet has this opinion, has this decision, has handed over this amount of funds. And so this signing point is where everything really happens. You're actually stamping a permanent change on the blockchain that everybody will be able to see. So whether that is swapping tokens or choosing a delegated representative, this is happening on chain. And once it's written, it is immutable. In other words, it can't be changed. It can't be tampered with. You can obviously go again later, submit another transaction that reverses your decision, changes who you delegate it to, but that is written. Both will be written onto the blockchain forever, and it can be verified and held up in courts and everything like that. So this is where your trust in the blockchain is actually this is where you're actually interacting with the blockchain itself. And so by signing that transaction, I've now delegated the vote power in my wallet over to Pi. And if he then goes forward and votes on a proposal, then my vote power from my wallet will go through with his vote power. And so we've actually committed that to the blockchain now. We can jump over to the wallet and actually verify it on chain if we want to. So under my transactions list, we can see this list has got the latest transaction in it, which is a Gov action transaction. We can see the UTXOs on chain if you're really geeky. And this is why Cardano actually operates exactly like Bitcoin does, but an extended version of what Bitcoin does. And here we know that once this goes to green, says on chain, then that has been written onto the blockchain, and the job is done. So while we'll wait for that to process, we can actually look as well at if you didn't want to interact with GovTool, which is a website, and you have to sort of evaluate every website you interact with, particularly when you're connecting your wallet to a website. That website's then gonna have the opportunity to pop up the request for you to sign a transaction, and it can have formed that transaction in a bad way. It might have made a mistake, it might have been malicious, or of course it could just be doing exactly what you want it to, but you have to evaluate that every time you sign a transaction. If you instead, actually, I don't want to interact with websites, I'm just going to stay in the domain of my own wallet, you can still interact with governance. So within Eternal Wallet, you can come to this voting tab, and they've got Catalyst voting that is ongoing at the moment, but as awaiting for final decisions on funds and everything like that. Or you can go to blockchain governance, which is where you're actually making decisions about those proposals on GovTools. And so here you can see that's my DREP ID. So it's still currently delegated to me. And then if I wanted to change that, I could actually just find, I could either set myself up as my own DREP. So I could choose own account and actually create a new delegated representative ID that will be assigned to this wallet, and then you're responsible for voting in proposals. Or I can cast my vote power to Eternal, because they've written the wallet, so they get the rights over the user interface. So they decided to attract a whole load of governance voting power over to them, which I'm a little uncomfortable with, but there we go. Or you could choose to abstain. I want to get my rewards out, but I don't want to interact with the governance website. Don't want to be making decisions. Just give me my rewards. You can switch it to abstain. Or actually, if you think that the constitutional committees, which you could see their vote power interacting in governance actions here. If you think actually, this proposal as it came through, they've voted it as constitutional, but I think there was something in here that said it was going to change the amount of capped ADA. I think it's unconstitutional. I've got no trust in that committee. I'm going to remove my vote power from them, or I'm going to cast a vote against that constitutional discussion, and say I'm going to have a vote, place my wallet into a state of no confidence, and that means that that constitutional committee, if they get enough no votes, enough no confidence votes in them, their power will actually be pulled. The current committee members will only be able to vote if there is a vote on their position again first initially, so we can actually kick those committee members out if we think they're not voting in line with the Constitution. And you can do all that through your wallet. So it's quite a powerful feature of being able to participate, but also throw a spanner in the works if you think it's all being hijacked by individuals who don't have the best interests of the blockchain at heart. So let's jump back to this transaction window and have a look, see. Oh, we're still waiting for that to go through. Let's try submitting again. Oh, there we go. I might have actually put this wallet into pause mode so it didn't send everything through straight away. So that might be my fault, sorry. It normally takes about 20 seconds for transactions to go through on Cardano. But yeah, once it goes on chain, then we'll be able to see it in Cardano Explorers. You can verify it for itself. And then the user interface on GovTools, etc., will show, if you've connected your wallet, that your DREP then is assigned to this new DREP. So at the moment, that still looks like me.
Jonathan, if we got time, I thought it would be interesting as we are talking about doing things ourselves on chain. Can I get a question or something? Maybe people, you were mentioning before about the website. You don't know the website you go on to is okay or not. Maybe we could go briefly into, okay, how do we verify a transaction, for example, on the blockchain, or how do we check their DApp is genuine?
Yeah.
Or that the website that we're interacting with is, so what tools are in our power to be able to check for ourselves before we commit?
Really good. So a couple of things. So this transaction has gone through. So let's do that first request first. Let's look at a transaction actually on the blockchain. And to do that, we can use Blockchain Explorer. So we can see that this Gov delegation transaction's gone through now. If we want to see this transaction on a Blockchain Explorer, we can click the link in our wallet easily enough, and that'll take us through to adastat.net, which is one of my favorite blockchain explorers. And here we can actually look at the nuts and bolts of the blockchain itself, what this wallet address has been participating in, who the parties were involved in this transaction, what was sent where, from where, and to where. And you can see actually within this transaction, we've got a staking reassignment. The target of the staking reassignment was to Pi Lanningham, his DREP ID. And if we want to go and verify who Pi was, you can check it on chain. He has got some metadata. He's provided that metadata, so there's a bit of a warning to it that it might not be true. You can trust it to an extent, but he might have written a lie into there. He hasn't. But you can see from his voting power in the past, what parameter decisions he's been voting on. So you've got all this rich information actually drawn directly from the blockchain. It's not coming from any directory, it's coming directly from the blockchain. And so you can trust that it's been written onto the blockchain, and you've got confidence in, how much you trust the blockchain is how much you can trust the information that's coming off it. So that's one way of verifying actual transactions. Of course, you can do the same thing by looking at other blockchain explorers. So let's copy that transaction ID as well. And let's jump over to another one. Cardano Scan is another great blockchain explorer. And so I've copied the transaction this time rather than just clicking the link. So I can paste that transaction ID into the Explorer, and that'll take me through. And here's a vote delegation. It's got Pi's DREP ID again. So we can verify, okay, this Explorer is saying the same thing as this other Explorer was. So actually, yeah, we know these are both drawing from the blockchain itself. The source of truth is still valid. And we've used two different third-party blockchain explorers to do that. So that's sort of some of the due diligence you can do around, are my transactions happening on chain? Is the user interface of this app I'm looking at actually tell me the truth? And so we did that. We used this website to cast that vote. Two blockchain explorers have said that, yeah, that transaction's gone on chain. So we can trust it. My wallet says the same thing as well. So we can trust that it's all going according to plan. If it's the first time you're coming to GovTools and you want to verify that this is a legitimate website, there's a bit more of a sort of social engineering way to go about that. Because obviously it's a website, it's got a domain. First thing you probably do is check that it's HTTPS, because it's happening over a secure communication with your browser rather than an unsecure one. You can look at gov.tools as the domain. Make sure it's just got that bit in there that you're expecting. If it was to say gov.tools.me, for example, then that's a website that could look like this one, but actually that .me at the end means it's a completely different owner of the website. And so check that domain portion of the address very closely as well. Make sure it's who you expect it to be. And then if we wanted to see, well, gov.tools sounds right, but is it actually the website that I think everyone's talking about? So it might be that you went to Cardano application directory. So Cardano Cube is one of the oldest ones out there, and it shows lots of the projects building in and around the ecosystem. So actually look on the first page, the latest project, it's got Cardano GovTool. So this is again is a third-party website, cardanocube.com. I've been visiting it for years. I can go and see, okay, this is Cardano Cube's information about GovTools. This is describing the website I want to be interacting with. On here, we should be able to find the link off to that website. And so, yeah, this is a link to it. And actually, if you want to be really nerdy, get into Webtacking, you can inspect that link, come in, look at the source code, and see, oh, actually, there's a bug in that website. It's pointing at the wrong thing. We've just found a bug on Cardano Cube. I've got to report that. So the link, the href, has doubled up on its HTTPS. So that's actually an error. So all the links from their websites will be broken at the moment, I bet. But yeah, but there we go. So that portion of it is correct. That tallies up with the website we were just trying to get to. Gov.tools looks the same as the gov.tools we were on. They've got the same domain. So we've just done a third-party check that the website you're looking at is the one that you think you are. And it's those sort of round trip checks are really worthwhile doing. And in fact, one thing that I always tell everyone to do is the most the biggest target for hackers and attackers in the crypto ecosystem is the wallet. If they can fool you into downloading a wallet that isn't the wallet that you think you're looking at, then and you sign a transaction, they can have access to all of your funds very quickly. And that is a wallet drain attack is a very serious thing. So when you are installing a wallet for the first time, you do interrupt me if you think I'm going off the rails here, Luca. But if you're interacting with the wallet, so I've just said Eternal
Carry on.
Wallet.
This is really interesting. I think it's very useful for everybody, I hope.
Cool. So I've just said I've just been talking and looking at Eternal Wallet. If you want to then pick up the Eternal Wallet because you like the look of it, you can go to their website, eternal.io, and that looks like what Jonathan was showing me. I want to download the browser extension because I don't want to be working with a website for my wallet. I want to actually to install some software onto my browser, onto my computer that then talks with the blockchain. And I want to control when that bit of software updates. I don't want to be just being force-fed stuff from a third-party website. So I'm going to actually download their browser extension from the Chrome Web Store. So I've just followed the link from eternal.io. Of course, it's going to take me all through this. I've just followed a link from eternal.io, which is the website that says, has the wallet that I want. I'm going to go through my security loops, making sure that everything's in place. So I'm using pass keys, which I need to get it to prompt me for in the correct way. No, still not found it. Let me try to log it into my. Again. Not prompting me for the right security. Let's go for another old school way. I'll just jump that off screen for a second. There was something that comes up that's off book, but that's, it's a proper workshop then. So I clicked the link on eternal.io, and that's brought me through to the Chrome Web Store. And I want to check that this listing in Chrome Web Store actually links back to the eternal.io website that I expect it to. So you can see here it's got this little verified badge with a jagged edge around it. That means that Google Chrome, this store, says that they've verified who the owner of this app is, which is always a very good sign. And if you look and click that link, that should take us back to eternal.io website we've just come from. So I'm leaving Chrome now, which is Google's area. I'm going back to the software provider, Eternal. And yet this is working like eternal.io that was at before. Let's check the address again. HTTPS, so it's secure, eternal.io. Yes, that's the right website. That matches up with the one that I went to initially that I typed in myself. So I've done a round trip now from my website that I visited with the software I want to install in to Google Chrome App Store and back to the website again. So I'm confident that this App Store listing is correct. So I would be clicking the install button to install a wallet into the browser. I've already done that, so it's asking me to remove it rather than install it. But that's the sort of round trip process you should be doing when you're installing browser extensions. And this is a sort of a discussion point between security experts. Some would prefer you not to install extensions because Chrome, for example, is the target of many attacks. Some would say you're better off just going through the website because the website isn't involving with local software. But my opinion's the other way around. I think if you're controlling the upgrade cycle, the update cycle of software itself by installing it, then you're better off. So I recommend this. But again, who you listen to will tell you different things.
No, that's fantastic. So how many of you have found this useful today? Yeah, I think it's been great because it's kind of one thing we're always talking about doing things on the blockchain. Then at the end of the day, what 99% of the people do, they just buy and sell tokens. They never touch the blockchain, unless there is something they can't buy on an exchange. Maybe what we could explore another time, Jonathan, would be kind of if we take this to the real world and to the point where you are agreeing with another person a transaction. Like I'll pay you in ADA in exchange for you sending me a file, for example. Kind of like what tools are there in place if there is a kind of like a sort of like some apps that provide a sort of escrow account, like a smart contract, like when ADA is paid and this file is sent automatically and so on. That would be another thing because then it's fine if it's always talking about trust. Even when you buy things on a website, you give them your funds with a credit card or whatever on trust that they're going to send you what you are wanting to buy. How do we take this and bring into like a trustless transaction? It'd be quite interesting because that's the next step where we are actually taking responsibility for all things that we don't need like American Express to tell them yes, it's a good vendor. We can check things out ourselves. So that would be kind of going a little bit deeper. And today I think we ran out of time, but it'd be interesting to see how this can change the things that we do every day, and so bring it home to people that this is real technology. It's not just a game that we can buy meme coins, and become meme coin millionaires overnight. But it affects real life. So I think, thank you very much for this demonstration. I think it was great. I would recommend every one of you that's got ADA, if you want, and not because I just want to promote Jonathan, but I think if we can delegate to him, if you're not intending to do the voting yourself, I think it's good to be able to delegate to somebody that you can talk to as well. Because you can delegate to whoever you want, but it's important that you have an avenue for discussion, because you should know what your representative is doing for you. Or at least Jonathan runs his Cardano sessions every week after this. I don't know if you run one today or not, Jonathan. Are you still?
Yeah, I'm jumping on again today.
Yeah, so we will run out now at the end of this, so you can always get on that session and discuss things about decision that he's making with him, which I think it's important. So I remind you, if you got ADA and you want to delegate, you can find Jonathan on the gov.tools website, or you can copy, if you're lazy, you can copy the direct number on the on the chat box, and then use it to when you go and delegate your ADA. In any case, I would encourage you to start moving. If you want to become more experienced, start moving your tokens, especially the ones that you want to keep long term, not just for trading, but you want to keep for a bit longer. Move them away from exchanges onto your wallet, and then you can start doing things like we demonstrated today. So this Cardano is just one of the blockchains. Learn how each one of the tokens that you hold in your long-term portfolio works, and then understand and connect to that community as well. Because if you bought a project, it's because you think that project is good, and then carry on your investigation and find out what's going on in that project, because that's what is going to determine the success or failure of a project long term, is what people like Jonathan do on a daily basis. All right, guys. So I think I really enjoyed this session, and for once I haven't been talking. So you've done all the talking tonight, which is good. Saves my throat.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It's been great. So hopefully you can get some more delegation. I will go on and transfer my delegation to you, because at the time when I did it, I didn't know your direct number yet. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now. And if you guys want to do it as well, then please do. If you don't, please don't. It's as easy as that. It's your decision. You're in charge. So you are the one that makes a decision. Okay. And we trying to give you options, and then you take action. All right, fantastic, guys. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.